Dassault Aviation directly, they released a press release.
Is that Dassault denies absolutely not a single information.
Yeah, I'm seeing that, yes.
They paid several million euros to this middleman, Sushen Gupta. So it's not 1 million, it's much more than 1 million. This was a very important moment. Why? Because there was a big battle between French and Indian negotiators about the price.
Hello and welcome to the Rooster News. This is to continue with yesterday's conversation with Mr. Yann Philippin, a reporter from Mediapart, an investigative agency from France who are investigating on Rafale deal. This deal was signed between India and France in the year 2016, and from the day it was signed, the allegations were also following the deal. Allegations such as earlier deal was done at 570 crore each aircraft, and later when NDA government signed this deal, this was done at the cost of 1670 crores each aircraft. Not only this, earlier deal was 126 aircrafts and the new deal says it is only 36 aircrafts. So there were a lot of such allegations, where yesterday's new allegation was, the new report says that there was a person called Sushen Gupta and Dassault Aviation who are manufacturing these aircrafts. They paid a gift amount of 1 million euro, which was a big amount. And not only this, the third part of this investigative report which came today, the report reveals not only 1 million euro, the amount is way beyond that, several million euros which were exchanged and from different channels. There are a lot more questions, lot more queries which the new third part of this report says. There are a lot more complicated and serious questions which raises on Sushen Gupta, Anil Ambani, Indian government and French government. Though both the sides, that means French government as well as Indian government, had said it's a baseless allegation. There is nothing to do with this new Rafale deal. It's baseless. But what this new report reveals is much, much serious. We have Yann Philippin with us on Zoom call right from France. Let's get into the show, ask him all possible questions, all possible things which India wants to know, which people of France wants to know, all sort of money laundering, whatever happened, whether it is only 1 million euro or it is much beyond. Let's get into the show. Let's get into the show, Mr. Yann. Welcome to the show once again, Mr. Yann. Yesterday, whatever we have discussed, and the new report reveals a lot more than what we spoke, right? The new report reveals a lot more questions, a lot more, serious allegations. And now, as today's report came, which Dassault Aviation directly, they released a press release. I want you to start from that.
Which is really striking in this press release is that first, it's very short. And second, is that Dassault denies absolutely not a single information.
Yeah, I'm seeing that, yes.
Yeah. So this press release, they just say we respect the OECD convention that bans corruption. But regarding the precise facts, and there are many facts in our three-part investigation, they did not deny not a single one of them.
Okay. Now my first question to you, as yesterday it was 1 million euro which was exchanged, and today's report reveals that it is not 1 million, it is several million euros, and through different areas which this money transferred, like shell companies from Singapore, Mauritius, etc. So what is it all about?
What it's all about, if we can sum up the investigation, is very simple. But so first thing is that Dassault and also one of its partners, Thales, who makes the electronic components of the Rafale. So these both French big companies, they paid several million euros to this middleman, Sushen Gupta. We cannot say exactly how much. It's at least 5 or 6 million. Some documents suggest that it could be up to 14 million. So it's not 1 million. It's much more than 1 million to middleman Sushen Gupta, who was at the heart of Dassault's strategy and behind the scenes of the Rafale contract. And what happened with Mr. Gupta is that Mr. Gupta first, in a note that is on all appearances destined to Dassault, he makes very striking comments. You know, he says people in office are asking for money. If we don't pay these people, we will go to jail. No, it's too late. Now that you started, you have to finish. You know, so it's very explicit comment.
Yeah.
So that may give a clue to where all these millions have ended up.
Yeah.
Second is that 3 years after writing this note, Mr. Gupta, in the middle of the negotiation, obtained confidential documents from the Indian Ministry of Defense precisely regarding the activity of the Indian negotiating team that was negotiating with. And this was a very important moment. Why? Because there was a big battle between French and Indian negotiators about the price. Because the Indian negotiator says, we've made our calculations, good price is 5 billion. And Dassault said, no, we want 10 billion. So that's twice more.
Yeah.
And so you can imagine the battle, you know, we're talking about billion euros here. And during this very important battle on price, Sushen Gupta, who is the middleman who was paid by Dassault, he obtained precisely documents from the Indian negotiators about this price battle, meaning records of internal discussions of the Indian negotiating team, also all sorts of spreadsheets and notes describing how the Indian negotiators calculated the good price. So basically, the Sushen Gupta, he knew how the Indian negotiators were thinking. And of course, in negotiation, when you know what your, I would say maybe not opponent, but the other parties in the negotiation knows, there is an advantage. Okay. And the last revelation of this last episode of our Rafale Papers series is that, while there's been all these suspicious things that I just told you about, we obtained documents showing that the French side, and namely Dassault and some of its partners on the Rafale, they fought hard to remove the anti-corruption clauses from the. Yeah. And these clauses are important because they are designed to protect India.
Correct. I was going through that document, Mr. Yann, where it clearly says that how France removed anti-corruption clauses in the contract, and it was very serious, where it could be a beneficial part for India. And why did this happen?
I must be very cautious because I don't want to say something that I cannot prove. But what is sure is that these clauses, just to explain to our viewer, they are here to protect India. So it's not immunity. It doesn't mean that you are allowed to bribe someone. But this clause, it says that if ever there is corruption that is proven, or even more restrictive, if you pay an agent to influence the government, it's different from paying bribe. Just paying an agent so to benefit from his influence. If one of these two facts, bribes or paying an agent for influence, is demonstrated, India can cancel the contract and can also ask huge financial damages from the manufacturer. And so because these clauses have been removed, if ever an official investigation proves corruption or proves that an agent has been paid, it's going to be much more difficult for India to claim compensation. And, the only question that is important, and unfortunately nobody that we asked about wanted to answer this, is if everything is clean, why do you need to remove the anti-corruption clauses?
True, yeah. See, I had one more point where the older contract which says 108 aircrafts to be, manufactured in India, and 126 aircraft was the total contract was. So now the new deal says it is only 36 aircrafts, and how did this transition happen from 126 to 36 without any, technology exchange thing on the deal?
That is not totally clear. The official reason is that the initial negotiation for 126 planes was too long, too difficult. That there were problems with HAL, Hindustan Aeronautics, that they did not agree on the terms with Dassault, and so Prime Minister Modi said that it was more quicker and more effective to buy 36 planes, made in France and just ready to fly. Okay.
But there is one more point here. I'm sorry to interrupt you here. HAL, which is much experienced company than RIL, which is Reliance Industries Limited, and how this thing happened, like from HAL it shifted to Anil Ambani's company.
That's what I was about to say, is that there is the official explanation, and then there is a suspicion, even if there is no hard proof as of today, that basically what we can say is that the switch from 126 to 36, there's been a big beneficiary of this switch, which is Reliance Group, because there was no need to assemble the planes in India. That's what HAL was supposed to do. When you order planes that are made in France, you don't need to assemble them anymore. So HAL was out.
Okay.
And who became the new best partner of Dassault in India? This is Reliance Group, owned by Mr. Anil Ambani. And in a previous investigation back in 2018, we showed testimonies and a document suggesting that Mr. Ambani and Reliance has been imposed to the French side by the Indian government. So yes, there is a real question about why Reliance has been chosen, despite they had no real experience in aeronautics and aerospace. And of course, because of the proximity, which is well known between Mr. Ambani and Prime Minister Modi.
Right. One more question. Earlier deal says it was only 570 Indian rupee each aircraft, and later it increased like thrice the amount which the deal was finalized, which was around 1,670 crores Indian rupee and almost 7.8 billion euros for 36 aircrafts. So how does this switch happen from a very smaller amount to such a huge price tag for each aircraft?
It's complicated to answer this question because these are really complex matters. The Indian negotiators said that the fair price seemed to be 5 billion for them. Dassault said 10. At the end, it was 8. Was it too expensive or not? I prefer not to comment on this because it's really difficult to say it should have been 6, 7, 8. It's really complex. What is sure, and what we showed in our investigation, is that Mr. Gupta obtained sensitive data from the Ministry of Defense that basically gave an advantage because he knew all about the way the Indian negotiators were thinking and calculating this price.
So there was somebody from Indian side, Indian ministry side, who was actually giving secret, sensitive information to Mr. Sushen Gupta.
All that I can say is that these documents are from the Ministry of Defense and that Mr. Gupta obtained them, despite they are confidential. But how he did that, I don't know. The important point is that we asked everybody. We asked the Indian Ministry of Defense how these documents could have leaked. They did not respond. We also asked the French Ministry of Defense because it could be, a possibility that these documents were given by the Indian negotiators to the French negotiators, and then that, like by this channel, it could end up to Mr. Gupta. And again, we had no answer. We also asked Dassault. We asked to Dassault, did you get these documents officially? Meaning from the French negotiators who themselves got them from the Indian negotiators. which could also be an explanation. And again, no answer. So all that we can say is that Mr. Gupta obtained them, but everybody seems quite embarrassed about the way he did.
Right. Acha, the same document reveals a conversation that promises because promised, people are waiting for money. They put us on jail. RIL. There are a lot of conversation which has happened. There is one point, cannot stop now. It is too late. So what was this conversation was all about?
To explain a little bit about this document, this is a note. This is a file, a Word file, with. And what is interesting about this file is that there is in this file both this argument, which is on all appearances, destined for Dassault, because it's quite clear from the content of it. And there are also other details that are not in my story that show that this, because there is also some work for Dassault in the same document. And also in the very same document, along with this bullet points argument, there is a plane ticket, an electronic plane ticket for Mr. Sushen Gupta from Paris to
Delhi. Yes.
Delhi. And so we know that the file has been modified for the last time, the 7th of September in the morning. I don't remember exactly the precise time, but in the morning. And that Mr. Gupta had a plane ticket from Paris to Delhi the same day at 10 p.m. So the suspicion that we have, that all this seems to indicate, is that the note that he wrote to prepare a meeting with Dassault in Paris this day. And there are basically bullet points that were destined to this meeting. But of course, we cannot be sure that he said exactly these words during the meeting.
Even with the information which is there in the spreadsheet, it is very difficult to know where all these millions of euros transferred. Given the multiple offshore shell companies involved registered in opaque tax haven like Switzerland and United Arab Emirates. Your take on that?
Yes, it's quite simple. Is that the Gupta family basically loves offshore companies. They have many of them. And so the money that has been paid in these tax havens then goes from one shell company to another, and then there are payments. And so basically it's very difficult to follow the money, and so to track the final beneficiaries of the payments.
Okay, great. It was wonderful talking to you, Mr. Yann. I have one last question from you. So after this final report, like both Indian government and French government said ki, this is not right, this is baseless and all those things. The same question I asked you yesterday also. So the document clearly shows a lot of your point, and today's press release from Dassault also says the same. They have almost accepted everything. They didn't deny anything which is there in all three part of your report. But on the same end, neither Indian government or French government are accepting these facts.
Is there been an official reaction from the?
Yeah, Indian government, it was a official reaction yesterday on the press release where they said, yeah.
What is important is the final reaction to today's story, because as you noticed, the most important revelations were in today's article. And so let's wait what the governments will say about the.
So let's wait for tomorrow what they are coming up with. So it was wonderful talking to you. It was pleasure, knowing all these facts, and I hope like many other people will come to know about the same thing. And we will definitely follow on the same story, and we will follow your content in future. Thanks a lot. Thank you so much for.
Thanks for your invitation.
Yeah, thanks a lot. Thanks a lot.
Bye-bye.